Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montevilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Pfaff Ambition 620. In this video, I'm going to show you how to wind the bobbin and how to thread the machine. So to start with, you have a spool pin right here. Now you can put it upright, but most of the time it's down. But for putting your spool on here, it's nice to be able to lift that up. Now I'm using a good quality thread, Metrocene, which is 100% polyester. It's a good quality thread. We sell it here at Montevilla. I would recommend this thread for your all-purpose sewing. When you put your spool on your machine, make sure that you have the thread coming from underneath like that. I'm going to put that on there. And there's my accessory bag. So you also have a spool cap that can go on your machine. Now different spool caps are different sizes, what you have here. Like if I had a very large spool, I would use this spool cap. For medium size, I just turn it around. But for this small spool, I'm going to use this little one right here. Put that on there. Have the thread coming from underneath, and then I back it off just a tiny bit, just so that that spool can spin if it wants to. The idea of the spool cap is to keep it, I got it caught underneath there, is to keep the spool from sliding off that horizontal spool pin. So you want to make sure you have a spool cap on. Now for bobbin winding, we go under this first guide here, around under this hook right here, under this hook here, and then keep a little tension on your thread as you slide it under that little wheel right there. That has a spring in it, and that's going to help give a little bit of tension on the thread as it's winding your bobbin so that it winds nice and evenly and somewhat tightly, like it is on your spool. Now this little hook here, which I didn't explain earlier, but I want to explain it now. This hook, in case you're wondering, is for if you're doing twin needle sewing. Twin needle sewing, where's my thing here? Well, there we go. Twin needle sewing is where you're using two spools of thread and you're doing decorative stitching. So the second spool of thread, here's your place where you'd put that spool pin. It would go through here to kind of help separate the two threads. Most of the time you're not going to be doing that unless you do a lot of twin needle sewing. Okay, so we got it that far, and then we need to take our bobbin and get out a bobbin here. And you'll notice that the bobbin looks the same on both sides. It has a little hole there. You take your thread, put it from inside to outside through the hole like that. Hold that tail straight up and put your bobbin on the spool pin. Then push that spool pin, that bobbin winder pin, to the right. And at this point you'll see a message on your screen here that says bobbin winding on. So you want to hang on to this because the thread, as is winding, is going to be winding around that little tail there to start with. You can go right over here to your start stop button. Let it take several layers on here until you push that. Then, now that inside at the beginning of the thread is anchored by the wraps of thread, you can snip that off and keep winding. Now, there is a little stopper here so that once your bobbin gets full, the thread, the wraps of the bobbin of thread will push against that and push this back to keep you from over winding. Now I'm just winding it a little bit because I only want a little bit of thread on my bobbin. So push this back, take your spool off, and then there's a cutter right here. You can just snip your thread like that. Don't even have to pick up your scissors. It's taken care of right there. Now I'm going to show you how to put the bobbin into your bobbin case. Push this little lever to the right, take off the cover, and then when you put your bobbin in, make sure that the thread tail's coming off the left-hand side. It kind of looks like the letter P. P for Pfaff, right? So put that in there. That's important that you don't have it coming from the other side because that could keep it from getting into the correct guides down here in the bobbin area. Then you come under this little plastic leaf like that, and notice how it's spinning. We want to stop it from spinning. Pull this around to the back, give it a little pull, and then right around that pathway, and there's a little cutter knife right there that pulls off, that cuts off that extra thread. You do not need to pull up your bobbin through the needle plate. It will pick it up once it starts sewing. So let's put the cover back on. that part is done for now. Then, to thread your needle, remember again, if you're using a new spool of thread, make sure that that thread is coming from underneath, so that way as it spirals off, it's not going to be tangling or kinking. So from underneath, start the same way, which you're going to come under here, but this time come around to the left. So follow the little arrows that are up here. We go down here, making sure that your presser foot is up, because that opens the tension disc and helps the thread to seat into the tension disc. Come down this way. Now I like to give it a little bit of tension up here when I'm threading the take-up lever. So I'm going from the right. There we go. Whoops. Gotta watch what I'm doing. I'm sitting kind of off to one side. There we go. I give it a little bit of tension because there's some stoppers there that help keep the thread in the take-up lever. The take-up lever is the part that goes up and down on old-fashioned machines. It's usually on the outside of the machine. But it's important because it helps the stitch form correctly. So, but there's a little stopper there, and you want to get past that stopper. That's why I have you hold that thread up by the spool. Give it a little tension. Then we come down here. There's a needle bar thread guide. Using two hands, get it under there like that. Make sure it's right down in that groove. Now we get to thread the needle, and this is where you want to make sure you have your needle all the way up or all the way down. If you have moved your hand wheel, it may not be exactly in the right place. So I would recommend needle down, needle up, and that'll make sure it's all the way in the up position. This is your threader, so I'm going to put this under that hook, then push this down, turn it this way so that that little fork goes right around the needle, come right in the middle of that fork, and then hold it at a slight upward angle. Now, I'm holding it sort of gently, but still so that it's a taut line here. Gently so that you can draw a loop of thread through the eye of the needle. Now, I don't like getting my fingers real close to the eye of the needle, so I'm going to take my darning needle, grab that loop of thread, and pull it right through. And now we have threaded the needle really quickly and easily. I could even do that without my reading glasses. It's just a wonderful tool to have. So once you start sewing, make sure you have your thread under the foot like that, and you're ready to go. So that's threading and bobbin winding on the Pfaff Ambition 620. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, give us a thumbs up. And if you have comments or questions, you can leave those in the area down below. We have lots of other videos on our Montevilla Sewing Center YouTube channel, so keep watching. Thanks for coming today. Bye-bye.